My marriage feels like it's crumbling. Is there still hope? Life with 2 young kids in a high-stress environment can feel overwhelming. I'm a 40-year-old woman, and my husband is 46. We have 2 little girls, one just 3 years old and the other a 4-month-old baby. Both of us work full-time jobs, which adds to the complexity of our situation. I earn a significantly higher income than he does, but his hours are less flexible, so I end up looking after the baby 2 days a week while juggling most of the household responsibilities. We don't live near family and reside in a very high cost of living area. Neither of us has the option of quitting our jobs, as they are closely tied to our industries, which primarily exist in this city. Moving isn't on the table unless we're prepared for a complete career reset, and that's just not possible. Before our children came along, our relationship was solid. We got along well most of the time, had a great sex life, and genuinely enjoyed each other's company. We shared many interests, and I loved our conversations. But that seems to be fading away, and the weight of how much that hurts is unbearable. It feels like we're slowly drifting apart, and I don't know how to stop it. Our older daughter was not an easy baby. She still doesn't sleep through the night, and even though she's bright and curious, she can be extremely emotional and demanding, more so than her peers. Before we had kids, we were both set on either having 2 children or none at all. I was adamant about not wanting an only child. My husband agreed initially, but once our first child arrived and the strain on our marriage became evident, he started expressing doubts about having a second. Despite his reservations, he eventually agreed because of how strongly I felt, and we decided that if we couldn't conceive naturally, we wouldn't pursue any medical interventions. Thankfully, I got pregnant again. This pregnancy, however, was a roller coaster. Doctors raised alarms about potential malformations, which ultimately turned out to be false, but the stress was intense. At the same time, I was dealing with drama at work, which eventually ended in my favor. I secured a more flexible schedule and a higher salary, but all this chaos just added to the strain between my husband and me. Meanwhile, his workload has steadily increased, and I know for a fact that he's underpaid for the effort and time he puts into his job. He took this position after his screenwriting career didn't pan out, which remains a source of sadness for him. Early in our relationship, he had moderate success as a full-time screenwriter, but as the work dried up and family responsibilities grew, he stepped away from it. I've tried to encourage him to keep writing, hoping the industry might turn around, but bringing it up only seems to deepen his depression. So I've stopped mentioning it altogether. Our sex life has been non-existent for about a year now. This all started shortly after I got pregnant with our second child, when he did something non-consensual during an encounter. Even after I said no, he persisted. We talked about it, and he apologized, but ever since, my desire for sex has completely evaporated. It's like a switch flipped in me, and I haven't wanted to be intimate with anyone. He hasn't pressured me, but the distance between us keeps growing. He sleeps on the couch now, not in our bedroom, because he's on night duty with our 3-year-old, who tends to wake up and come into my room, disturbing both me and the baby. I've asked him to come back to the bedroom, but he says it stresses him out too much. Still, he complains about not sleeping with me, even though I've offered multiple times. I also feel like most of the work I do around the house goes unnoticed. When I have a rare moment to myself, I try to get something done, whether it's mopping, doing extra laundry, or sorting through the baby's clothes that no longer fit. On the other hand, he seems to prioritize time for himself. He plays video games or heads to the gym, and while it's not excessive, there are times when I come home to find him gaming with the baby in a bouncer next to him and the house in total disarray. He encourages me to take time for myself, but I can't relax when there's a mess everywhere. We have cleaners come every 2 weeks, but that doesn't cover the daily tasks that need attention. Lately, I've developed the unhealthy habit of drinking most days just to cope. I'm actively trying to cut back, but by the time the kids are in bed, I'm completely drained. Instead of spending time with my husband, I just want to lie in bed and zone out, whether by reading or mindlessly scrolling through my phone. Even when I do try to talk to him, Our conversations often turn negative, leaving me feeling like I'm constantly defending myself. Despite our second baby being much easier than our first, it feels like our marriage is hanging by a thread, and I can't shake the overwhelming sadness. I've remained faithful to him in every sense, and I don't suspect he's been unfaithful either. However, I did catch him going through my phone the other day. When I asked him about it, he admitted he was checking to see if I'd been talking badly about him to my friends. I wasn't, but his insecurity stung. We argue constantly. I feel overworked and unappreciated, while he feels defeated and unwanted. It's like whenever one of us tries to be happy, the other one drags them down. He told me today that he thinks I don't love him anymore, and that hit me hard. We don't have time for marriage counseling, and without family nearby, or the ability to take time off work, it feels impossible to make space for that. I don't want our marriage to end, but I'm feeling lost. We're both just shadows of the people who fell in love with each other, and it's breaking my heart. If anyone has been through something like this, and made it out the other side with their marriage still intact, I'd love to hear how you did it.